Greetings friend and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going over my first win against the new DLC boss, the Balancers, along with some quick tips for them as well. This is the build that I'm using for Undertaker, basically just focusing on character skill cooldown reduction, ultimate charge, one of the most important things being the HP restoration on post-damage attacks, just makes it so easy to trade with Undertaker's kit, and then the Aerogel Relic. I'll be putting all of the tips that I have in the first part of the video and then letting the rest of the fight play out. Starting out with a shout out to Reddit user Luvechingo, or Andre Artiglio, from the Nightreign subreddit. Compiled a really amazing master list of all of the resistances and weaknesses, strengths, everything for all of the Nightlords. That post will be linked in the description as well, so you can have access to that infographic as well, as it is beyond handy. For damage type, the Balancers have a 10% weakness to blunt damage, things like hammers, great hammers, and colossal weapons, and a 8% resistance to any slashing damage. There is no elemental weakness for this boss, but they do have an 8% resistance to fire, a 10% resistance to lightning, and 30% resistance to holy, so do not be like me and use a holy infused weapon. I regrettably found that out after I beat these guys for the first time. I was definitely wondering why it was taking so long to beat them with this weapon, but it makes sense now. But there is a 0% resistance to magic damage, so casters will be able to put in a lot of work against these guys. For statuses, the only thing that they are immune to is Frenzy, and they have a 252 build-up requirement for Poison, Rot, Bleed, and Frost for the first status proc, and then everything after that compounds and becomes more difficult to do. So their stated weakness is Sleep, and that only requires 84 status build-up for the first proc. I would advise to wait until the second half of the fight if you have any sleep buildup on any of your weapons or sleep grease or anything like that, just because it's a little bit more effective to do it when there's the main boss that they select. Also, as much as you can, if you're able to proc sleep, just as soon as you do, stop hitting them, because otherwise it will it will wake them back up, and then it'll just require more sleep buildup to trigger it the next time. The lesser ones stagger fairly easily, so anything that you're able to quickly do that with, usually larger weapons, also hammers, deal great stagger damage, fists as well. Those will all help you out a ton. Also, they deal only physical damage, and this applies to the large AoE after all of the ones dive down as well. So as long as you are able to block, you're not dual wielding weapons. If you two-hand or have shield any weapon, just block that last gigantic AoE and it'll eat your stamina bar, but you will not take any chip damage at all. If you can have them gathered up at all, that'll also be a great way to apply a ton of damage to the overall health bar if you can use any sort of AoE or larger range ultimate like a Wilder ult. A little bit more niche tip with Undertaker is her ultimate will go through any enemies that are in the way, and it will target the one that you are currently locked onto. So if you're able to position yourself, and I'm able to do a little bit towards the end of the video, but position yourself so the enemy that you're targeting is behind a bunch of the other ones, that is a great way to deal a lot of damage at one time. The lesser ones are also fairly easy to parry as well, due to how telegraphed their attacks are and how big the windup is. Any shield that has any sort of parry ash war on it will work great, so if you're able to keep your starting shield as Wilder, that's a great way to set yourself up right off the jump. Buckler parry will give you more parry frames, and golden parry will use up FP for every time you attempt it, while carry and retaliation will only use FP every single time you actually land the parry. Guardian also does really well for this fight due to the fact that there is no elemental chip damage, everything's physical damage, and the extended whirlwind that you get from him will stagger these guys very, very easily. The combo that the Pink Power Ranger just did right there, it gave me a lot of trouble at first, until I realized that you can just surge sprint away from it, as long as you save a little bit of stamina to dodge the 3 wave attacks that she sends out right after that. It's the most effective way that I found to deal with that. I'll post the full run at a different time. I ended up getting the Gladius invasion for this expedition, as well as we got the Noclateo buff, which definitely comes in handy a little bit later. This was a very long, hard-fought victory, as you will see, and with that I will let the rest of the fight play out. That right there is a prime example of why you should not get tunnel vision trying to get that last hit on the boss, but luckily my teammates were able to still get the win. Make sure to subscribe if you'd like to see more of this type of content, and don't forget, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.